I don't count your family. That's what my father said when I asked why they hadn't come to my son's birthday. I had spent weeks planning it, balloons, handmade decorations, even a rented bouncy castle shaped like a dragon. My son, Milo, waited at the gate, holding the invite he personally made for his grandparents. They never came. Instead, when I called to ask where they were, my father snapped, "We don't count your family. You're the outsider." We gave enough. That's when something inside me shattered. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I opened my laptop, logged into every account they had access to: utilities, rent, food delivery, even the subscription to their cable bundle. And I clicked cancel. All of it. My name was on everything. For 7 years, I sent them $2,200 a month. Quietly. No questions. No thanks. I closed each account like I was sealing a casket. Then I picked up the cake my son hadn't touched, and we went for a walk. Just the two of us. 40 minutes later, my phone lit up. 26 missed calls. 14 voicemails. And then a live video message. My mom, screaming, not crying. She had thrown every pot in the kitchen. My dad stood in the background yelling, "What did you do?" I didn't reply. I just turned the sound off and pulled Milo close. My name is Brielle Maddox, I'm 35. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. What happens when silence becomes the sharpest weapon of all? Milo tugged at my hand while we watched ducks glide across the pond. He didn't ask about his grandparents. He just said, "Can we go again next year, just us?" I nodded, pressing my lips together so I wouldn't cry. I didn't want him to think anything was wrong, because in that moment, nothing was. We were safe. Alone. Honest. Until we got home. There were 3 missed calls from my dad's work landline. Then an email titled, "Reinstate payments immediately, or we'll have to talk lawyers." I laughed. Lawyers? My name was on the accounts. Their rent was paid from my own bank, and I had receipts going back years. Still, part of me waited. Maybe they'd say sorry. Maybe this was a bluff. But then my sister chimed in. A message from her, public on Facebook. It's sad when someone thinks they can manipulate their way into love. You should never expect gratitude for doing what family should do. Followed by likes and laughing emojis from my parents. The same parents who let me sleep in my car for 3 months when I was 19. The same ones I forgave again and again and again. This wasn't a family. It was a drain. A weight. That night, I typed one sentence and sent it to both my parents, my sister, and everyone who ever told me to let it go. The bank transfers were my mistake, and I've corrected it. Then I blocked every number. Except one. My lawyers. Because if they wanted to talk lawyers, I was ready. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was loud. Like an empty theater after the curtain falls, but the lights never come back on. Then came the knock. Not at my front door. At the daycare. I arrived at pickup, and Milo's teacher pulled me aside. "There was a man here," said. "He was your father. Tried to take Milo home." My chest tightened. "He what?" "We told him to leave. He got angry. Said he was going to the police, that you were mentally unstable and endangering your child. We filed a report, just so you know. He didn't get far, but we thought you should be informed." I nodded, numb. But inside me, something ancient cracked open. They weren't just petty now. They were dangerous. I went home, shaking, double-locked the door, and called my lawyer. He didn't hesitate. "We're filing a restraining order. Emergency hearing. And I want access to all your financial logs. I want to see everything you gave them." As we spoke, an alert pinged on my phone. Venmo request from mom, $2,200. Caption: "You're being emotional. Be practical. Restart payments." I almost screamed. Instead, I forwarded it to my lawyer. Then I opened Facebook again. This time I didn't scroll. I posted. "To anyone who thinks silence equals guilt, I paid my parents' bills for 8 years. They refused to come to my child's birthday. Then tried to take my son. Now they're calling me unstable. I'm done. Officially." Comments flooded in. Some in shock. Some finally admitting they'd seen this coming. Some from family, begging me to take it down. But the one that made me pause? A DM from my older cousin. I've been through this too. If you want the truth about your parents, I have it. And it's worse than you think. I stared at the message from my cousin. My hands hovered over the screen, unsure. Then I typed, "What do you mean? Worse than I think?" Her reply came fast. "They did this to me too. When I was 22, I gave them access to my savings. Thought I was helping. Months later, I found out Dad refinanced my car in his name. And when I pushed back, they told the whole family I was emotionally unstable and needed help." I blinked. My cousin. The one they always called the wanderer, the impulsive one, the troubled one. She was me. 10 years ahead. "I have documents," she wrote. "Screenshots. Bank statements. Even a voice memo." My stomach dropped. She sent a folder. And what I read turned my skin cold. Multiple transactions linked to my parents' accounts, labeled repayments, monthly stipends, bills. None of it declared. All of it withdrawn from family. The pattern was clear. They groomed us to give, then painted us as unstable when we stopped. It was a long con. Emotional fraud, masked as love. Then she said, "The last person who cut them off got served court papers, claiming emotional distress. Be ready. They play dirty." And sure enough, at 6 p.m., a white sedan pulled into my driveway. My heart raced. A man in a cheap suit got out, knocked, handed me an envelope. Notice of intent to pursue support under elder dependency. Filed by my parents. They were suing me for stopping the payments. I sat on the floor, stunned. But instead of crying, I picked up the phone. "Hey, it's me. Yeah, I got the envelope. Let's proceed. And get the press involved too. I'm done hiding." Because if they wanted a war, I had 8 years of receipts. And the world was about to read every single one. The courtroom smelled like cheap paper and cold coffee. I sat at the defendant's table. Yes, defendant. As my own parents stared me down like I was a stranger. Their lawyer adjusted his tie and read aloud, monotone. "Our clients have been financially dependent on their daughter's consistent monthly support, amounting to $2,200 over 8 years. Her sudden refusal to continue these payments has caused severe emotional distress and hardship." I didn't flinch, but when I stood, I could feel every eye lock on me, including the local reporter in the back row. Because yes, I invited the press. If they wanted this public, so be it. I looked at the judge. "Your Honor," I said clearly, "I have 8 years of bank statements. The transfers were never court-ordered, never requested in writing, and never labeled as support. They were gifts until I discovered the emotional abuse attached." I handed the file to my attorney. Inside, records of financial manipulation. Texts where my parents threatened to cut me off from the family if I stopped paying. Audio of my dad saying, "You owe us everything. You should have never been born." Silence fell. Then a whisper from the plaintiff's side. "My mom. You said you'd always take care of us." And suddenly, her voice cracked, not with grief, but embarrassment. Because her voice was now evidence. Outside the courtroom, cameras rolled. The press swarmed. One reporter asked, "Is it true your parents spent your son's birthday money on a cruise?" I turned slowly, looked straight into the lens, asked them, and walked away. Back home, I found a letter slipped under my door. "You've humiliated us. You've turned the family against us. You'll regret this." But regret? I was done borrowing shame. Next morning, I filed for a legal restraining order and made one final post. My silence funded comfort. But my voice? That's mine now. The court order went through. Restraining. Ironically peaceful. No more surprise knocks. No more midnight guilt texts. No more slow, creeping manipulation hidden behind. "We're your parents, we love you." But the silence didn't last. A week later, my boss called me into his office. He looked uncomfortable. "There's been a situation. Someone's been emailing HR, claiming you're mentally unstable and financially reckless. Said you forged your resume. They sent documents. He paused. I didn't. I slid my own folder onto his desk. Inside, every letter of recommendation. All credentials, sealed and certified. A voice recording of my mother just last week saying, if she doesn't pay us back, we'll destroy her job. She won't survive without us. My boss's jaw clenched. She said that. I nodded once. He pushed the folder aside. Your work speaks louder. You're not going anywhere. Still, my hands were trembling. That night, I opened the group family chat. Messages unread for weeks. I typed one line. My child now knows how to spot manipulation. That legacy ends with me. Then I left the chat, deleted every backup, and for the first time, fell asleep without keeping the phone under my pillow. But they didn't stop. 2 days later, my aunt called crying. They told everyone at church that you ran off with someone else's baby, that you used them for years and abandoned them in old age. I asked her softly, did they also mention I paid their rent for 8 years while being called a mistake? Silence. Then she whispered, I didn't know. Now, they were losing more than money. They were losing their mask. And I was just getting started. The lies started unraveling faster than I expected. One by one, relatives called me in quiet confusion. No rage, just that stunned, breathless tone people use when they realize the ground beneath them was never solid. Why did your mom say you forged the adoption certificate? Your dad told us you moved abroad with a married man? Is it true you changed your number to cut off your dying parents? I didn't defend, didn't explain, didn't even sigh. I just forwarded the receipts, screenshots, bank logs, voice memos, letters of gratitude they'd sent me for covering their medical bills, their mortgage, their vacations. One cousin, a quiet one I barely spoke to, messaged. I believed them. I'm sorry. But seeing this, I don't even know who they are anymore. I replied, they're exactly who they always were. You just didn't see it until they turned the mask toward you. Then came the final blow. My mother posted on Facebook a long, dramatic paragraph. Tears, manipulation, fake illness, phrases like lost our daughter to ambition and we only ever wanted love. She tagged the entire family and my son's school. I reported the post. But before it came down, I took a screenshot, then sent it to my lawyer. We filed an emergency defamation motion. Cease and desist. And a court hearing was scheduled. But what happened next didn't come from the courtroom. It came from my father. One line. Sent at 2:17 a.m. on a private number. She's unraveling. You win. Just please don't let her name die in shame. I stared at the message for a long time, then turned off my phone. No reply. Because I wasn't finished yet. I didn't reply to my father's message. I didn't attend the court hearing either. My lawyer handled it. The ruling came quietly. A restraining order, a permanent injunction, and monetary damages awarded for the smear campaign. But none of that was the true ending. The true ending came in silence. Weeks later, my doorbell rang. Outside stood a florist. 24 pale gardenias, my mother's favorite. No note. Just one word on the ribbon. Home. I closed the door. That night, I sat beside my son while he slept. His breathing soft, calm, untouched by the noise I was raised in. On my kitchen counter sat the envelope. Inside it, a torn check I'd found in my father's old desk drawer years ago. Made out to me. Never sent. Dated the week I graduated with honors. He'd written, for the daughter who defied us all. He never mailed it. I understood now. They loved control, not people. And I loved peace more than proving anything. So I lit a single candle on the back porch. The scent reminded me of my grandmother, the only one who ever believed in me. I whispered, you raised me right. And I finally walked away right. No revenge. No screaming. No last words shouted into the void. Just quiet disconnection. Unfollow. Unplug. Undo. They raised a daughter they couldn't own. And now, they don't get to know the version of me that finally healed. No access. No update. No entry. Just the sound of their names slowly fading into silence.